Hi everyone, my name's Christina Ryan and I'm a senior texture artist at Industrial Light and Magic. Welcome to our 2022 Rookie Awards interview series. I'm a judge on the Rookies as well as the host of this interview series, and I'm really excited to have you back. So basically each week we introduce a new artist in the Rookies community that we found super impressive, and we just get them, we bring them on board and we get them to show you their work, explain their workflows, and tell them a little bit about their journey and how they produce their work and how they got to where they are today. So for those of you in the audience, this is a great opportunity to ask questions and really get involved with the Rookies community. So that work that I just showed you was the work of Dylan, and we absolutely loved it. We thought we were so blown away by the beautiful environments that you saw. So I'm going to go ahead and bring him on right now. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Dylan. It's so nice to have you. Thank you so much for hopping on.
Thank you for having me.
So, Dylan, would you better just start off by just telling everyone a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Dylan. Originally from New Jersey. Living in Los Angeles now after moving to school and now working. So yeah, just been doing CG for about, I guess, 4 years now. Got into it. I guess I started late high school, but I only made like a few spheres here and there, maybe for fun, and then transferred. Yeah, and then once I got to school, once I got to college, I was studying engineering originally in Philadelphia, and quickly found out it was not for me, and sort of hopped around different majors and stuff, and yeah, eventually found my way to CG and doing CG program at my last school, and then eventually ended up transferring from that school to Noman out here in Hollywood in California, and yeah, the rest is kind of history. I don't know, just went through Noman and now we're here. So yeah.
Wow. Could you tell us a little bit about your studies at Noman, what it involved? You were saying it was quite challenging to go through that process.
Yeah, I think first it was just challenging to like move across the country and get settled, move to a new school, and luckily, I met a lot of great people at school, and some of my greatest friends are from school, so
Oh,
it was
fantastic.
it was really a great experience. But definitely challenging. Just the 10 week time during school, or the 10 week terms, I guess, was always challenging to get good products out of.
Mm,
But yeah, it was. I think that was the biggest thing. Was just the time constraint. Was like 10 weeks to focus on one big project maybe per term, and
mhm.
try and polish it. But yeah.
So with Noman, did you find that you studied like different elements of the pipeline, or did you get to focus on one particular thing?
Yeah, I think that's one of the great things about Noman is they definitely teach you like a broad range of topics. So we had like rigging classes, texturing classes, modeling classes, pretty much everything you could ask for, even like compositing and stuff too. And even in like I did the film track in school, but there was also a games track, and even in the films track we got to get some Unreal experience,
Yeah.
which was really nice. And yeah, that was probably one of the best things was I guess the diversity, and also the academic mentoring center that they had, getting to go one-on-one with one of your teachers, or honestly any of the teachers that you had for your classes. You could just ask for help after, which was always really helpful.
Oh, that's lovely. So Dylan, could you tell us a little bit about what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I've been working at ILM as well for the
Woo!
past for the past like 8 months or so, since January. I originally started in the Jedi Academy program for the virtual art department there, and I was working there in the VAD Jedi Academy for about 6 weeks. So they trained you up, got used to like train you on their workflow, different programs, like how they work, things like that, and we got to like do some cool environment stuff in there and show our work off, and just to learn the pipeline and everything. So it was a fun time. And then afterwards, lucky enough to get rolled onto a show after and keep working. So it was
Cool.
fun.
Oh, it's so exciting. I'm ridiculously happy for you.
Thank you.
When I realized you worked with Highland too, I was like, hey, you work with me.
I know. It was funny.
um, could you tell us a bit more about what a VAD artist is? Because that's not something I was particularly aware of before chatting with you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess the a VAD artist is just kind of working on whatever is going to be thrown up onto the LED panels. for real-time production. So I think ILM, became really, or not became, but was really big during the Mandalorian stuff because of that was the first like big show using this technology. So yeah, I think day to day we're just kind of working on taking models into Unreal Engine and placing things around, and it's basically just building an environment that's going to go up onto the LED panels, and that's how you're going to light your scene. So yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, I've recently heard quite a bit about that. It's really exciting stuff, like just seeing how it's all done. So wow.
Yeah.
Do you ever get to go, like, is it all in the office, or do you ever get to visit the sets?
So I'm currently in LA, unfortunately. So I don't travel anywhere for work. So I'm just completely work from home. Working for the studio in San Francisco. But if there was ever shoots, which I think there are shoots in Los Angeles on these stages, but I haven't had the privilege to go yet, which would be really fun to go in the future. That would be really cool to see our work up there on the screen.
Oh, wow. Well, I really hope that you get to do that one day.
Thank you.
So Dylan, could you tell us a little bit about your Rookies Award? What made you enter the Rookies?
Yeah, I guess our school definitely encourages you to shoot for the rookies and get your stuff out there for people to see and to show off your hard work. So I figured, why not? I had just finished my reel and everything, so I figured that was probably the best time to do it. To be honest, was once I felt ready. I feel like the year before I entered, I just didn't feel like I had enough projects, and a lot of these projects came from demo reel or later classes during school. So I think that was how I decided. I was like, okay, finally ready, can submit and see how it goes. So
yeah. So I've currently got the your architectural piece up right now. I was wondering if maybe you could just walk us through the process of how you created this, or like you said, this was done in just 2 weeks.
Yeah, this was a quick one. I was honestly surprised how quick it went. But it was honestly, I think just because I was in demo reel at the time. This was the end of my first demo reel, so this was all done within like a 10-week term. And yeah, this was all done in Maya. So I modeled everything in that package, and everything was just textured in Substance Painter. That's my usual workflow. Just model in Maya, texture in Substance Painter, composite in Nuke. And this was also composited in Nuke afterwards. And yeah, I guess I think the most challenging things about this were just trying to get the same feel from the concept. It was a really cool concept, really like contrasty, vibrant lighting, but like still kind of moody. So I think that was one of the biggest challenges, was just to match it to the best of my ability. But yeah, this one was a really fun one. It was definitely a more comfortable piece, just because it's an interior with wood, and that's pretty much, I could kind of use boxes for everything. So I kind of got away with a lot of quicker modeling. I think that's why it was able to go so quick. But yeah,
it really goes to show how atmosphere, composition, and things like that can really just help sell a piece as well. Because this piece, like, it really draws the eye. Like, you kind of your eye goes up the stairs to the window, and it's just absolutely beautiful. Yeah, very, very atmospheric and moody. Dylan, because you mentioned like you have a concept, is this a part of the Gnomon like procedure where you go and find a piece of concept art and replicate that?
Yeah, definitely. They definitely encourage you to look at concepts, even from the Intro to Maya class that I had, like term 3 of 12 in the very beginning. It's like, hey, find some concepts. They're always pushing reference. It's definitely a big part of the workflow, is spending a good amount of time finding as much good reference as you can. And when you have a great concept to work from, it really just drives like all of your decision making. You don't have to really second guess like what some things are. Like, oh, is this like, what shape is this? What shape is that? It's like, it's kind of all there for you, or what should go where. It's it's all there for you. So that's definitely a nice part of working from concepts. It's just, you kind of just focus on making the assets, and yeah, it just takes care of a bunch of stuff for you.
You changed the painting.
Oh, I did change the painting. Yes, it was too like popular of a painting. I think that was Miguel's note, my teacher. So it was just too noticeable. So I changed it to something else. Yeah, but I think it's one of my favorite parts of the process is
Yeah,
little stuff like this, just like going in and texturing a little painting here and there, even like the tinier painting frames. It's
these
just,
ones.
it's nice just to have that, especially because I know it's there, and
Yeah.
it's something nice for me.
Well, the more and more you look at it, the more you see, right? And I'm loving going like backwards and forthing through because it's really
Thank you.
cool to see your thought process as you sort of move through the piece. It's quite awesome.
Yeah, this was honestly a fun one.
And then I've got your human character up here. Can you tell us a
Yeah,
little bit about this one?
for sure. This one has a special place in my heart, I think. This one was a tough project. Like the early stages of this were rough, is a nice word. I feel it was really rough to put it that way. I had never modeled a character before. I'm not a character artist in the least. So this was another project where I wanted to just really push myself out of my comfort zone. And it was with a teacher I'd wanted to take a class with as well. Tran Ma, she's a great teacher. And honestly, without Tran and without Miguel, all of my projects wouldn't look the way they do. They're great mentors. So
Wow.
Tran, and that's what I was mentioning before about the AMC, the academic mentoring. It's pretty much like every week after class, sometime during the week, I would meet with Tran and go over my progress for the week. And she would give me feedback on, hey, I think, this could be improved here, this can be improved there, and help me with how the model could be improved, especially. That was one of the biggest parts that I struggled with. So yeah, most of the credit should go to them, to be honest, like their guidance. So yeah.
I can totally respect how challenging a piece like this is, especially if it's not your bread and butter or something that you normally do. There's just so many different elements, and I think you pulled this off really well. So you should be very happy with yourself.
Thank you. Yeah,
um, could you tell me about like what inspired you to create this piece?
definitely. I think this also started with a concept. It isn't a one-to-one concept. It was like a monk concept with like a butterfly or something like that, and he was like kind of like in a pose holding his staff and stuff. But I kind of just wanted to, more than anything for the class, I wasn't really too focused on getting like a final piece out of it. It was just, I wanted to learn how to model a character to the best of my ability. And I also really wanted to learn Mari, which is what we used for this project. That's what's taught in the class. And so I really wanted to learn that program just to broaden my skills, I think. And yeah, there was basically just that one concept. And then it was about finding reference. I really struggled with finding, this is kind of just an amalgamation of countless different older Asian guys, I suppose. Like it's just a big amalgamation. And eventually it did sort of move to, I guess I think I can show later. I have the PRF up, but it moved to like one specific, I think it was like this older Korean model actually. And I've tried to focus on specific areas to really like define certain areas, because it was hard to define areas when I was pulling only one angle, I suppose, from one reference, and then a different person from a different angle. And, it's
Yeah.
the anatomy isn't just going to like match up magically. So it kind of needed more specific direction. So that was
Yeah.
another struggle, finding reference, to be honest. But
Oh, could only
yeah.
imagine. Wow. What was the most challenging aspect of this piece?
Oh man, I think just, again, the 10-week time constraint, and you don't have to finish the projects, of course. um, there's a lot of moving pieces during these terms, but I think the most challenging thing was definitely just trying to understand human anatomy and how to emulate that in 3D. Like this was like one of my first render tests, and it's really really rough. It's
Wow.
yeah, and I wanted to include this though because I feel like I feel like it's important to show how rough this stuff can look, especially
Yeah.
towards the beginning,
Okay.
and then how, just over time, the more work you put into it,
Yep.
the
Yep.
the better it can get. So it's just,
Oh,
I,
I'm so happy that you put this in here because it's really inspiring for new artists to be able to see the progress
oh,
and
thanks.
when they first look at something just to keep going because once you add subsurface scattering and a bit of texturing, this stuff just really starts to come to life, right?
Definitely. Yeah. I honestly feel like during the process, I kind of just, every project I do, I just kind of forget, like, or you don't even really notice it. There's just, eventually when you look back on the progress, like the progress renders, it's like, oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. This really did change like a big amount here. But I guess when you're doing it, at least for me personally, I just kind of don't notice. It's just like, okay, yeah, this is kind of looking better here. And then you just keep
Yeah,
going and, give it enough time and it
yeah.
gets to a good place, hopefully. So at least I hope so. So
Oh no,
yeah,
it's beautiful.
thank you.
Almost gives me like Avatar: The Last Airbender vibes.
Yeah,
Is that the original plan with the arrow?
yeah, this was kind of like a joke. I was thinking to myself like, oh, all these monks and stuff, and I was actually rewatching Avatar: The Last Airbender around this time. So it's like, oh wow, this is actually perfect. So I just kind of threw the arrow, like one of the arrows from Korra, on there just to see what it would
Very
look like
good.
for fun. But
That's
yeah,
how
I
I
think
really love that.
yeah, I think it was a little too much for the piece. So decided to go with the more traditional like tattoo. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, but
Oh,
yeah, this was a fun
that's
one,
really
and
cool.
again, like yeah, all the compositing done in Nuke afterwards with
Yeah,
Miguel's help. So it's yeah,
amazing.
and I think that's one of my favorite parts, seeing it come alive in comp. It's like you can see the difference that comp makes between like the final
Yeah,
here and like even the previous image. Like no backgrounds, stuff like that. So yeah,
yeah, yes,
really
so
changes
true.
everything.
And then just like bringing up the rim lights. Oh, those
Yeah.
beautiful final touches is the best.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite parts because the project's almost done, and it's like when it starts to look the best too. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's a really exciting time in the process for
Oh,
sure.
amazing. And before we get you to share your screen, I might just get you to talk through the one more piece. This is your
Oh
game.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Um,
This one, for this one, this is probably my personal favorite, just because this is just something that came from like a late night doodle idea I had in my head. I'll be able to share the first like play blast and stuff too that I did.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, this one was just kind of, I love big doorways. I love big scale. I don't think this is like the most like crazy behemoth scale or anything, but I just love like big environments.
Yeah.
Those are my every like movie I've seen where there's some big establishing shot of a giant environment or something. That's always what sticks with me. So I feel
Yeah.
like that's what I wanted to try and do here. And also, I mean, the space themes are some of like sci-fi stuff, are some of my favorite things, some of my favorite genres. So it's why not, just send it. I think this was scary because this was in my second demo reel, and this is getting towards hey, like, got to start finishing your reel after these projects are done. And it was really nerve-wracking because it was something I was not doing from a concept, which I had done for the two previous projects. So this was kind of just looking at different projects, looking at reference from real life,
Yeah.
that inspired me, and
Hmm.
trying to just mash them all together into something that looked good. So yeah.
No, this is amazing. Is this pure?
Thank you. Yeah, so this is my Pure
Yeah.
F. I just tried to look at a bunch of different patterns and stuff that I found online.
Mhm.
Like, I think some of these are like Destiny patterns. There's a few like other space Ori type projects that I found as well that had really interesting patterns. So I kind of just wanted to like look at all of these things and just kind of pull from wherever I could to make something new and
Hmm.
make something exciting out of it. So yeah,
Oh, well done. And yeah, it makes me so happy to see this included in your entry, because I do this still for every piece of, like, every project I do for work. I usually create a pure rep board like this.
yeah,
And it's so important to have up next to you, because otherwise you can just start going off in a random direction and not realize. So it's
no,
great to
absolutely,
have that one. So no, thank you for including that. It's
of course,
really great to see your thought process.
yep,
Um,
for sure.
your substance painter, which is really cool.
Yeah, I just wanted to show like the difference, or I guess I just wanted to show how it looked in Substance Painter as well, but
Yeah,
also the
yeah,
difference. I like showing the progress stuff. Like I think especially it's kind of for myself as well, like seeing
yeah.
how
And we
far this
love
stuff comes. Yeah,
we
and
we love it. We encourage it because we want to see
yeah,
how you made it. It's so much more
definitely,
interesting, right? Otherwise,
definitely.
yeah, we have no idea how you created the final piece.
Yeah, I love seeing other people's tricks and how they do things and workarounds that they have, and I love stealing that kind of stuff. So
Yeah,
it's always
yeah,
nice to steal like someone's like neat little workflow trick. So I love
exactly.
that stuff. So
It's
hopefully
like,
hopefully it's helpful. But I feel like a lot looking back on a lot of my projects, they're definitely not not very clean and not efficient. So I don't know how many pieces of advice I can give, but yeah.
I'm sure you can offer a lot of advice, but that's the thing, right? As a student, you are still learning.
Of course.
It's not meant to be perfect. So for your next piece, you'll know exactly what to do to improve and make it.
No, absolutely. It's all part of the process. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Dylan, so I reckon it would be lovely if you could share your screen and maybe tell us a little bit about some of your projects. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think we're already sharing.
Yes.
There we go.
Cool. So this was yeah. So this was the piece that we were just talking about. So pardon my computer like having a meltdown as I have a few scenes open, but yeah. So this is just, I guess, this is just the wireframe. This is the entire scene. So really nothing crazy to it. I was originally planning on doing more intricate like pillars and stuff here, but my teacher Miguel, he actually liked the more brutalist, simple looking architecture, so we kind of just rolled with it. And I knew I really wanted to just play with like spheres, round shapes with this project. So that's kind of just what I tried to emphasize everywhere. Just big spheres, rings, everywhere I could. And I think in the progress images, we saw that like this outer piece here was not really there. It just, I guess it was just all for adding more breakup to the sphere, and it just added more interest when the sphere was spinning, and yeah, it just made it look cooler, I guess. So yeah. But yeah, everything was just modeled in Maya and then taken into Substance Painter to texture it, like pretty much every other project except for the character, which was done in Mari. And then even the little basalt cliffs on the side are just like, I think they're like a textures.com texture that I just displaced onto these planes, and just try to do things as fast as possible and as easily as possible, because of the time constraints, it's like, I guess all we really care about is, pushing the final to look as best as it can. So just trying to do things in an efficient manner as well. This was also coming off of the Hanuman Monkey King piece, which I did not do very efficiently, and it was very, 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 very heavy for absolutely no reason, and that was a nightmare to wrangle that scene. So
was that the one with all the leaves, the individual leaves?
Yeah, that was one with all the leaves and the big statue and stuff in the giant cave and stuff. So yeah, that piece was tough, but I made it tough for myself. So yeah.
Oh, well, you learned from it though, right?
No, absolutely. It was, and I think this is just a product of learning, right? Like this, I just tried to do things, as with as little geo as possible, and only giving it to the things that really needed it. So yeah, and then the character was just like a base mesh that I had, and I took it into, I think I definitely used Mixamo to get like a little animation for the character, pulling her arm down here.
Oh, beautiful.
And then the only part that I didn't do was this robe I bought off of, I think, ArtStation. I have the artist credited in my reel for the cloth, but this was their original like Marvelous Designer piece, and then I just took the character into Marvelous Designer with the Alembic, like the Alembic cache, all the animation baked down into it, and just simmed it and had fun. So this, I think the original play blast of this, like we were playing around a bunch with different like speeds of the wind, because I was thinking, okay, this thing's pretty big, so I'm assuming it'll really just like whoosh, like blow the cloth, and it looks really silly. So it ended up being a little bit slower, but yeah, I was pretty happy with how it turned out overall. So yeah, pretty happy with that. And the play blast I was talking about earlier this was how the scene looked when I was doing my little midnight doodle. I think this is what I showed my teachers originally.
Yeah.
So I think from the beginning I knew how the spheres, like in the rings, like the general idea of how I wanted them to move. But then from there, it was kind of trying to fine tune some of the timings and the feel of the animation to give it like more weight, I suppose. Because again, it is trying to convey like it is a big thing, and but again, I mean, it was definitely a learning process. The animation could still be a lot better, I think. So but I was pretty happy with how it turned out. It's definitely a favorite project.
Oh, I love that. I love seeing your initial idea process as well and how it's evolved into this. That's so cool.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was a really fun project just because, and it felt very very personal just because it was something that I wanted to make like just from my
Yeah,
own ideas and see where it
yeah.
went.
And you've just
And
come up with it yourself as well, which is awesome.
yeah, so and then the pure ref again here. I added a few more things since then. More like inspiration pieces here. Like I love this stuff. This is really cool. But
Yeah.
yeah, trying to find like I think one of my friends Ben he suggested like oh maybe inside of these little gaps here in the geo you could have like these little like pipes or like pistons or something that kind of like
Yeah.
activate when before it fires off or something. So and I think that's one of the best things about going to school for this stuff is surrounding yourself with like-minded people who are passionate about the same things that you are. And that's definitely how I feel like this piece like ended up as something decent, like just feedback from people, feedback from my friends, like constantly asking my roommates and constantly asking my teachers like how can I make this better, how does this look, how does that look,
Yeah.
and it's just a lot of back and forth doing that, I suppose. So
Oh, that's really
yeah,
cool. It's so true. Like just being around people, especially even just being back in the office again. It's so great to just
no,
see
definitely,
coworkers and tap them on the shoulder and, how did you do that?
for sure. Oh,
We just have someone in the audience that's just asked a question. They'd just like to know how much Substance Painter do we use in the pipeline at ILM? Is it a mix of Mari and Substance Painter, or do you have free range? So I can only speak for myself. In DMS, the model shop and the texture department, we use Mari because Mari is just ingrained in the pipeline and it just fits very well into the rest of the DMS pipeline. Substance Painter, we can use like just bake some like utility maps and things like that, but it is preferable that we use Mari. I know that Jen and maybe some other departments, they do use Substance Painter. Um, what about you, Dylan? Do you have any specific programs?
Yeah, I think Substance Painter, at least for the VAD, is what we use if we are modeling and texturing our own assets. I know
Yeah,
that a big part of it is definitely using scans, leveraging scans, because I mean nothing's going to look better than something that's already real. So
yeah.
that's definitely that's definitely a big part of the pipeline as well, I think. But yeah, if we are texturing stuff on our own, definitely Substance Painter. At least that's what I've personally used.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think it is also whatever gets the job done, though. I think whatever you're comfortable with. It's the same thing with. It's usually the same thing with VAD work. At least they let you use Maya, Max, Blender,
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Houdini if you want. Like yeah, you kind of have free range to use what you're comfortable with as long as you can get it done. So
Oh, wicked. That's awesome.
yeah,
Good
yeah,
to
for sure. So yeah, and then so this was just like a lot of again like reference inspiration for shapes and composition. Like I have a bunch in here for composition. Like this was a really big influence, this piece, for composition and sort of lighting. And I think this is like another piece that was also really. This is one of the first pieces that I found. I think it's like a Danielson Cars. I'm gonna get his last name wrong, but it's Danielson something. But these pieces by him are insanely cool, and definitely really inspirational to this piece. And this Ori that I found, like just kind of browsing, I think either Google or it was Pinterest, probably just finding like random stuff. Like I love just going down the Pinterest loophole.
Oh, it's
Um,
dangerous.
it is very dangerous, but yeah, I love saving stuff onto there. And then I like more. This is like game stuff. I think just
Yeah,
shapes though. It's like really fun to look at. So for inspiration, but
lovely. Wow.
yeah, so that's pretty much it for this project. Like it was just the original idea, refining the animation, and then taking it from there,
Mm.
and adding more things as they were needed. Feeling like okay, well, I've gotten to this point. It's
Yeah,
missing X, Y, Z. Let's add it and see how it feels. And yeah,
yeah.
just that's it.
I love how true you stay to your original concept as well. Like the way the animation works, it's still got the same elements as what you first drew, and it's just added more detail, which is really
Yeah,
cool.
thank you. That honestly might be half like wanting to stay true to my original idea, but also like I'm not sure what else it would have like. I'm not sure what else it may have needed to be better. Like I just, animation wise or how it could have been cooler. I just didn't know. That was all my creative juices had for this one. So
It was great. I loved
yeah,
it.
thank you. So yeah, that's pretty much that one. And then the other piece was the one you showed at the beginning, and this is this scene, and this is another one that I got away with just a lot of boxes, just for light. This is like blocking light and things, I suppose, and from there it was just kind of matching the concept. So usually, I'm not sure if I have it in this file, but usually I'll start by using a program called fspy, and you can take the concept into there and kind of trace different vanishing points, and it'll kind of give you an idea of what the camera, the focal length would be for the camera, and you can kind of take it into Maya and slap the image plane on there to your camera, and then just start modeling from there. So that's usually how I work. That's the best way I've found for me when working from concepts. So, yeah. Amazing. Oh, should I go back and show the animation for this person real quick?
Why not? Why not?
Okay. Yeah. Why not? So this is the animation just. It's gonna play back kind of slow in Maya, but
that's right.
Yeah, let's see
how that works. So cool.
Yeah, I hope in the future for like a personal project, I have a part 2 of this started, but I don't know if it'll ever see the light of day.
Oh, that's so exciting to hear. We'll have to follow you.
Thank you. But yeah, so yeah, this one was also pretty straightforward, just working through the same workflow as the other concepts, just trying to find the proper focal length and then working on matching the shapes. So when I go like into wireframe, I would see the concept behind here matching up, hopefully matching the different elements of it, the different assets. So yeah, again, it's just starting in, I guess the way I do it is just like start in one area and then kind of work from left to right sometimes, or honestly whatever I'm feeling like modeling. Sometimes there's things that I'm like, oh, this looks a little complicated, I'm gonna save that for later because I'm not sure how I'm gonna approach that, and then we'll deal with that's a problem for later me. So yeah, that's kind of how it goes for these projects. Like, okay, I'm comfortable modeling this, let's do that first and populate the scene and go from there. So but yeah, this one was a fun one. It was a great concept. So I didn't have to think about too much other than how I was going to model certain things and how I was going to texture them. So yeah. And then I do have final image here. So yeah,
the lighting is beautiful. Very nice.
Yeah, thank you. This was all just like comp work to really make this stuff pop. I think earlier in the beginning when you're showing the before and after, like before comp and after comp, it's I would always wonder how really cool projects end up looking like. How do they make this look this way? It really is just a lot of work after the fact. It's just working to get your base pretty much, and then you can comp is so powerful that you can kind of just do whatever in comp.
It's the same in movies as well. It's the same in everything. Comp is that real step that just brings it out,
Yeah, definitely. It definitely just like enhances everything that you have. So vision block in the middle of a project. Oh yeah, absolutely. I feel like I've had more often times than not just like hitting roadblocks. And I think that's when it can be easy to just like give up, which is probably admittedly like what I do for a while is I'll just kind of like give up for a bit. But honestly, I think relying on my roommates and friends to like help me, like, hey, I'm stuck here. I don't know how to like what's making this not look the way I want it to. Like, what do you think? What areas could be improved in what way? And I think that's probably the best thing to get you out of a rut, or just taking breaks or working on other projects. Like I like working on multiple things at the same time because I think it gives you fresh eyes for sure. I think it's important not to just work on one thing. I mean, if you have to, you have to, but being able to switch back and forth definitely gives you fresh eyes, fresh perspective on your scene. even doing something like this, like taking your render or your one of your images like into PureRef or something, and like zooming out and like squinting your eyes maybe and taking a look at your values or something like that. Like all these little stuff can help kind of break you out of that rut maybe. So
yeah, it's quite a challenging. Someone asked this in our last interview as well, and it happens to all of us getting that sort of art block. Someone suggested going back to reference as well, just bringing up, going back to Pinterest or to Instagram or wherever you get your reference, and just start building up more of a mood board to be able to get some more ideas and hopefully stimulate your brain a little bit more. And then also, like you were saying before, Dylan, just tackle something a bit easier. So if your piece looks really, really complicated and you're quite overwhelmed, find a smaller piece within that project to start. Like maybe, like for example, in your project, you said that you just modeled something a bit smaller before going to the more complicated parts, and slowly building up your confidence to get to the more complicated aspects of it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think reference is always, kind of your go-to. It's kind of your guide for the entire project. And I think that's why, especially Tran, when I was working on a lot of the character stuff, was pushing like reference.
Wow.
It's the previous board had more than this as well. It's just, it's just important to be able to have stuff that is real or is going to look good because it is real. So I think that's probably the biggest part. And also this was another neat trick, just like taking stuff taking like a look at like 3D scan store or something and how forms look on an actual like scanned person, just to see it in context. Like if you're only looking at ZBrush for your model, right? Like how does this form look in ZBrush? Then you can kind of give you a better idea. Maybe that's another neat little trick. So yeah, and then bouncing ideas off of people. Yeah, absolutely. Bouncing up ideas at work. I think it's the same thing, right? Like I feel like the workflow shouldn't change. I think working from home is probably a little bit weirder or like harder to reach out to people sometimes in a way. Like I can't just go like, check up on my neighbor right next to me or something like, hey, what do you think? At the same time, just shoot them like a message or something like, hey, I'm struggling on this. And it'll always probably be, coworkers that you trust, or probably just like your lead, whoever you're reporting to, like, hey, I'm stuck on this. I'm not sure what decision to make here. I feel like it's always better to ask and communicate if you're struggling than, to kind of just like silently like flounder or be struggling, Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very true. And then they can usually see things with fresher eyes as well. Hey.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the fresh perspective is really important with this stuff, because again, if you're working on something for 10 weeks, everything's gonna start to kind of blur together at a certain point. It's like you're gonna start forgetting. Yeah, you're gonna start forgetting like, oh, like what did I do for this piece again? What did I do for that piece again? Where was this? Where was that file? Like you're balancing a lot of stuff, so it's good to have another perspective, I think. So yeah.
But and just saying, and like adding to that, remote work is very common now in the industry as well. So, and in Australia, we do two days in the office and then 3 days remote. So we're pretty fortunate. We do get those 2 days, which is so valuable. So hopefully, everyone else is able to get to do that a little bit more in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, and then I guess I have one more project, the Cyberpunk Alleyway one, to show in Unreal. So this is another example of what not to do, because I pretty much I did not make this project for Unreal. So I didn't really model too much for this project. This was done for my Lighting 1 class at Noman in 2019, like late 2019. So this started out just like me using some kit bash buildings and just trying to, I don't know, go for a certain mood. And I think it was around the time where Cyberpunk was coming out soon or something like that, or it was like getting hyped up. So I wanted to do a Cyberpunk piece with really like moody lighting and all the neon lights and stuff. So yeah, this was another special one to me because there's so much like, I don't know, room for little Easter eggs and things like that for me to put in there. So like, I just had a lot of fun with this one. I think this was like, I think one of my favorite things to do when I'm not really feeling like I want to model anything is just, I like to take kit bash stuff and just play with like Legos, pretty much just in CG. So this is kind of what came of that for that class.
It's one of my favorite parts is the reflections of the lights in the water and the ground.
Yeah, thank you. This was definitely like what I had in mind when I first was thinking of what I wanted to do for this piece. I loved like, I think photography is another thing that I hear get mentioned a lot. It's good to go out and take photos and like practice composition that way, I suppose. And I would always love when I was taking photography, taking like really low angle shots like this, because I always found the ground to be really, really interesting. So that's kind of what I wanted to go for here in this piece, was create some sort of interesting foreground really close to the camera. And with all these pretty lights going on, I think thinking about some of my favorite parts of real life is definitely like going outside on a rainy day at nighttime and seeing like all the lights. It was one of my favorite parts of living back in Philadelphia, was if it had ever rained or anything like that, and going out at nighttime, you could just see like lights bouncing everywhere. That's kind of how what I wanted to do for this project. So this was a fun one. This one went through many different iterations. There was like nothing at the end of this at one point. It was just kind of like fog and it looked a little weird. But then, added like another building back there with more signs and things like that. Yeah, this one was a lot of fun. Just taking the assets and retexturing everything and getting to play with my own lighting and creating my own mood. And then once I took an Unreal class at school, this was kind of like what put me on the Unreal train. I definitely wanted to just see everything in real time. I didn't have to wait and press a render button. So I just ported the project because I thought, I can use some cool like Megascans assets as well, like some trash bags maybe, and like these high res, like the high res asphalt and things like that. So, and I could do the puddles like in the viewport and everything too, which is cool. So yeah, everything was just super interactive once I got into here, but yeah, it's not optimized for Unreal, so it's very, very, very heavy, as you can see. But yeah, this was a fun one. I liked this. I liked working on this one a lot. But again, this was another one where I definitely just hit roadblocks. I hit a certain point where I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it and didn't know what to add to like make it feel finished. But then this is kind of what came from that to try and finish that. So.
I can imagine I could just keep looking at it and finding something new.
Yeah, like
inspired me for my next piece. It's such a cool, design.
Thank you. I wanted to kind of make it feel like an older cyberpunk, more than like that like futuristic look to it. I'm not sure if that really came through or not, but yeah, I like the older feel to the signs and stuff. But yeah, this is another one that's like close to my heart because this is the first like big environment that I ended up doing at school. So to see it kind of be finished in what I like in an unexpected way in Unreal was kind of neat. So yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that and opening that up for us. It's so cool to see
For sure.
in real time how it works. Did you have a concept for this one?
I didn't have an outright concept for this. This was another one that I just had a big mood board for. I'm not sure. I honestly don't know where the mood board went. It might be on a different drive because this project started on a few years ago. But let me see if I can. I think when I was looking earlier, I couldn't find my mood board. But again, it's all these projects are kind of rinse and repeat, the same process, right? Like it's the same thing as the Astronomer's Gate piece earlier. It's finding concepts like this, that I like really, really like, and I want to do something similar and make it my own. Even something like this, it's like this can inform, I feel like, a lot of your decisions on design language and things like that for your piece. So that's kind of what I tried for this original piece as well. It's just, again, gathering reference, gathering real life city photography and combining it with cool concepts, artistic concepts that are inspiring compositionally or for mood or lighting or things like that. So yeah, it's really just the same things. It's really just those same things in the process over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's good to hear, and it's also fun to hear that you said that you went outside and you could get reference in the real world of the lights and how that all worked. It's one of my favorite things to do as a texture artist is just to get outside and take some pictures, right?
yeah, definitely. When my friends and I were out, it's fun being like out with other artist friends because we'll just joke around with each other when we're seeing something that looks like it could be good reference. It's like, oh, hey, take a picture of that. It's good reference for later or something. So we
100%.
have like a bunch of photos on our phone when we're out, just like, oh, this railing is really rusty. Let's take a picture of it. Why not? And we
Yeah.
like
You
even
go
like
upstairs.
yeah. So it's fun. It's fun being out and like getting to think about these projects and get reference for the projects as well. So yeah.
Mm. So Dylan, I think we'll probably almost wrap up there. I've got a couple
For
more
sure.
questions. So we just want to know, so were you concerned about time constraints on projects when you first started at Island?
Oh yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, personally, of course, for me personally, I mean, I want to do a good job and I want to get stuff handed in on time. I think that's kind of also drilled into me from school as well, just finishing things in a tight time constraint in the 10 weeks. And yeah, it's definitely concerned, but I mean, with certain things, you can't rush it. And this stuff just takes time. And, we can push ourselves to do things in only a few days for sure. But, it's hard to go back and forth, especially when you're still learning, or like more beginner or junior level. It's, you're still learning. And I think that's something I have to remind myself of too, because I definitely have like that perfectionist mindset where I need things to be, looking good as fast as possible. But, we're still learning, and that's part of it, right? Like, it's
100%.
school. I feel like that's CG in general. Like, we're always learning something new programs, new workflows. So it's always going to be that way. I feel always learning something. And I think that's one of the best parts about it though. Always learning something new.
Constantly learning.
Yeah.
I think, just to add to that, like, I think when you work for a company as well, you tend to have a little bit more artistic vision, I suppose, of what the end product needs to look like. So there's less
sure.
time spent at the beginning, like, oh, what am I going to do? Worrying about what project, what style you're going to do, and things like that. I mean, I know for myself, quite often we'll just get a picture and go, here, copy this.
Yeah.
So this was on set. This is what it looks like. You need to make it look exactly like that. So when it's projects like that, I find it comes together a lot quicker because you're not, having that time at the beginning trying to design something. So that does speed things up quite a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And again, I think it also comes back to you're part of a team. Like, you have other people that are working on similar assets, or maybe you're working with someone that, maybe you're like, you are texturing something. You could like talk to your modeler, like, how can I make your life easier? Or, whoever's behind you or after you in the pipeline, like, how can I make your life easier? You can definitely talk to these people and make your life easier by making their life easier as well. So it's
so true.
yeah. So it's, just communicating. And I think it's just okay to struggle sometimes too. It's like, it happens. There's going to be, we can't be like good at everything. Right. So
exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's absolutely right. Dylan, do you have any advice for someone entering the Rookie Awards next year, or someone that, perhaps wants to get into this industry and doesn't know where to start?
Yeah, definitely. I think now is probably like the best time, one of the best times to be getting into CG with like stuff like Blender, free stuff, plenty of tutorials, like, just have fun with it. Probably need to say that to myself as well. Just have fun and don't like overthink it. It's all pretty pictures and, fun movies and stuff. Like, it should be fun. And I think for the rookies, just be confident and be genuine with your entry and just show yourself and your art. Like, that's, at least for me, that's kind of what I'm trying to express how I'm feeling when I'm trying to make these pieces, or express a certain type of feeling. And I think if you are genuine to that, then, your pieces will shine. So I think that's the most important part. And just, have fun, be genuine.
Thank you so much, Dylan, for
thank you for having me
and for sharing everything. No, it's been an absolute privilege to talk to you. So and it looks like everyone got a lot out of this interview as well. So
I hope so. Thank you.
All right. Well, all the very best, and see you around.
I'll see you around. Thank you so much.
All right, see you
Bye-bye.
later. I'm going to leave you all with Dylan's show reel.